What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Mael Time podcast. I'm Daniel Mael. First, I just want to ask if you're tuning in for the first time or if you've been checking what we're doing out for a little bit of time now, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing both on Substack, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it might be. Really appreciate it. Can't continue to grow without your help. I just want to discuss FIDF now. It's really blown into the open with the Ynet report talking about the internal investigation from the board, and now JTA with Times of Israel and Jerusalem Post picking it up. There's a lot to be said, and it's early in the morning here. I'm kind of just going to go on a rambling rant about the situation. First of all, people always try to mention the executive compensation when it comes to FIDF and executives. I'm less concerned about that. I think that if you're raising hundreds of millions of dollars annually and an organization is run well and needs are met and filled and you're doing your job, making $600,000 or even $1 million isn't such a big deal. In fact, I think it's good for a CEO to be compensated well. I think it attracts top talent. So the issue is much less about executive compensation and more about the false advertising and I would say disingenuity or the disingenuous nature of how much of the fundraising is done and funds are processed. I want to call attention here to, I just posted something on Substack. If I share this here, okay, so let's just talk about this from Nadav Padan.
What we're doing as the FIDF by sending our care and support to the people of Israel is significantly important those days. It's really what will enable the Israel and the IDF win this war. So thank you again for your support. It's the best ammunition you can send to Israel, better than any helmet, any drone, or whatever.
I mean, it's totally preposterous. And also, why do they have to talk about it? So Rabbi Weil and Major General in Reserve Nadav Padan have repeatedly had these FIDF live things, which are generally quite boring and uninformative, but on occasion, when they make their fundraising appeals or they're asking questions, they mention certain things. And in this case, there's been a number of efforts to undermine grassroots initiatives that were aiming to help soldiers. So why does Nadav Padan need to juxtapose giving spiritual assistance with equipment? Someone can help with equipment or do whatever they want to do to help units directly and also give to PTSD treatments or to help widows and orphans. It's very nice. But don't let anyone for a moment try to tell you that it was agitators going after FIDF. It was FIDF gaslighting soldiers and their efforts to privately fundraise that initiated a lot of people being upset with what they're doing. And I'll go back here to the article I just posted, Make FIDF Great Again. And if we're going through, it's important just to go through what they actually spent money on. So they're telling everyone that they only deal in needs, not wants. They get everything from the Ministry of Defense. They're spending they send 500,000 t-shirts for a winter essentials, over 500,000 pairs of underwear, including 50,010 pairs of women's underwear. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't understand how that's part of an emergency campaign, especially in light of October 7th, in the sense that if you have that money Why do you have to spend it on 500,000 t-shirts? If you went to the recipients of those t-shirts and asked them, would you rather money be spent on these t-shirts, or would you rather the money be spent investing in the lives of widows and orphans, or wounded soldiers, or PTSD treatments, or trips, whatever it might be? 99% of Israeli society would say that it should go toward the more important causes. So I'm unsure why FIDF necessarily had to spend on these items and spend so frivolously. Go down further. Of course, Nadav Padan was photographed wearing a hostage pin above his groin. And this goes to the discussion about hiring a PR firm. You can hire a PR firm, FIDF, and spend money that should be going to soldiers on trying to spin some of what's been going on. But fundamentally, if your national director is wearing his a hostage pin above his groin, you have much bigger issues than whether or not you have a PR firm on retainer. You have a judgment problem. There's been a lot of really horrible sites in the fundraising world. I really have no idea how anyone puts a hostage pin on their belt just above their groin. I really don't. And again, FIDF family, you are on the front lines with Israel's soldiers. Why do you have to say that? Just say that you're helping soldiers and you're doing important things. You're just not on the front lines doing the most important things. And that's fine. I'm not sure why they engaged in this kind of emotional manipulation other than to raise money. So there's a real disconnect, and it's a problem. Go down to further. Again, this is a post they made on Yom HaShoah in 2024. And I'll read it here. Never again is now has been our rallying cry since October 7th. The Shoah is on the periphery of everything our nation does, our people know. Hashtag Holocaust Remembrance Day, unlike other days, and yet a day unlike other days, and yet a day that has been every day since the first deportation. I would hire someone with, just to look at the grammar here, it's a little bit of a word salad there. As we understand, our people can never be complacent, can never be apathetic, and can never take our position as a state and in the diaspora for granted. So remember, we're Jewish people, we might get killed. When we say never again is now, we mean it. This is the moment to show what you would have done, what you will do, and how you commemorate the 6 million who perished and the aftershocks that affect our balance today. So you're telling someone, this is the moment that you can think about what you would have done at the opening stages of the Holocaust to rescue Jewish lives from Hitler's grip. And I contrast this with their internal memo, sweet packages, spending $65,000, towels, pillows, protein snacks, thermal shirts. Thermal shirts make sense, actually. That's a good thing. But again, it's a little bit weird. Flip-flops, 70,000 flip-flops for $172,000. Band-Aids, gazebo tents for units, neck warmers, 5,000. Again, there's hundreds of thousands of soldiers that were called up. Where do you come up with these numbers? So how do you decide who gets flip-flops and who doesn't if there's 200,000 reservists? And then, again, people say, oh, you're focusing on flip-flops. Well, no, FIDF focused on flip-flops. They actually promoted this on their social media page. Perhaps they weren't expecting people to actually look at their social media page, but this is something that they promoted. In the harsh reality of combat, with challenges abound, seemingly simple things play a crucial role in safeguarding the health and morale of our brave men and women in uniform. When IDF soldiers have the opportunity to take a shower in the field, utilizing portable showers, these flip-flops give them the luxury of a brief interlude from their combat boots after their shower. Now, that's assuming they have combat boots. When this post was made, there's still a big problem with proper combat boots. And of course, there's so many other issues that were up there that were more important than getting flip-flops. They provide them with a reprieve from the rigors of combat and even a moment of normalcy in the midst of chaos. The simple act of taking off their combat boots and slipping into flip-flops is a huge boost to their morale and well-being. FIDF donated flip-flops are a tangible expression of FIDF's commitment to the comprehensive well-being of our soldiers, even in the most difficult and demanding conditions. So people are begging for proper ceramic plates. People are begging for helmets. People are begging for all sorts of items, proper backpacks, medical kits, medical aid. And they're saying that flip-flops are a great thing to do. Again, just so disconnected. And after October 7th, with so many really critical needs, I can't imagine how flip-flops donated as part of an emergency campaign in which the Holocaust was invoked is a moral or ethical use of that money. And then we go to challah and kippot. IDF soldiers on the front lines are receiving Shabbat kits from FIDF containing everything they need to observe Shabbat traditions, delivered to soldiers defending Israel by air, land, and sea. So the Air Force, the Navy, Golani. These kits can make all the difference for soldiers' spiritual strength and morale during this war. FIDF wishes them a peaceful Shabbat, and we pray for their safe return home. The irony about the kippah is that a helmet, according to Jewish law, could actually serve as a kippah. So if you wanted to say that you're giving helmets, you could just say you're giving complex kippot, perhaps. So it's a little bit strange that you can give one head covering but not the other. So we've established you can give a head covering, but it can't be one that actually helps them. It has to be something that they'll stick in their pocket after wearing it for 10 seconds. It's a little bit strange. And again, there's so many initiatives, so many shoals, so many communities that stepped up and gave this kind of stuff. Why is that the need? Why does there need to be an organization that's spending emergency fund money on this kind of stuff? Doesn't really make any sense. FIDF has packed thousands of bags, again, full of t-shirts. FIDF is committed to providing vital supplies to the soldiers serving on the front lines in response to urgent requests for assistance from the IDF. These emergency supplies are crucial for combat soldiers to complete their missions. With your generous support, we have delivered thousands of personal well-being kits to the brave combat soldiers in Gaza, defending our homeland. So if they do not get this t-shirt, there's a chance they will not be able to complete their mission. I'm not even sure how FIDF could defame themselves more than this post itself. There's nothing anybody could say. It's completely egregious. And again, these are internal things. Nail clippers and tweezers, over $10,000. Laptops for bereaved and evacuated IDF orphans and siblings of fallen soldiers, $665. Like, is that really what they need? I have no idea. But it seems to me that, like, why does FIDF have to spend money on Band-Aids and flip-flops and not get more laptops or things that people actually want or need from, that have undergone immense tragedy, let alone all the other stuff? I'm just saying, if you're not going to engage in any sort of defensive equipment, that's fine. But why is this how you're spending the money? It doesn't make any sense. Sweet packages? $13 worth of per sweet package? I mean, this is crazy. You spent over $13,000 on sweet packages. And the date on this is November 22nd, 2023. I mean, there's tens of thousands of soldiers still missing basic equipment, and this is where they were spending it on, frankly, nonsense. So on one hand, you could say they should help with frontline stuff, in actual frontline stuff. But if you're going to concede that they can't do that, fine. why are they wasting it on what is essentially garbage? And there are so many people in need, so many people that really needed assistance and they didn't get it. And then when you couple that with the fact that FIDF basically launched a campaign to undermine private donations and to say that it's not actually needed, and that these are, what they would always say is it's wants versus needs, and we have the needs. You're only talking about the wants from the soldiers. And when you talk like that, it makes people think that A, you know what you're talking about, and B, there's a plan that's emerging from the Ministry of Defense and FIDF. Everything's going to be fine. And that's not fair to spread misinformation to parents of soldiers, to people that really want to help. People work hard for their money. And the fact that they would essentially insult their intelligence and mislead them to this extent is truly troubling. This is just a bit of what's unfolding. I'll cover more later. I have a bunch of soldiers reaching out, a bunch of employees, a bunch of former employees. The dam is burst. There's a lot to uncover here. And I would love nothing more than to take an active role in helping fix FIDF and helping them actually help the soldiers more concretely without a lot of this other noise and nonsense. The heroes of the IDF are unbelievable. They are the greatest people. I just absolutely love them. And it's very painful to see this much money misused when people really wanted to help those soldiers and people that really need the assistance. So it's in all of the Jewish people's interest that these issues are resolved. And God willing, it's resolved quickly. But don't let anyone lie and misrepresent things and say that people that are raising these issues have some sort of ulterior motive that's negative or that's trying to, quote unquote, destroy an organization. To the contrary, this is an important mission that needs to be done correctly. And when people are misusing positions of power, misleading donors, spending frivolously on nonsense, it needs to be called out. And it's in the interest of Israel, all of the IDF soldiers, all of the people who give so generously, to be able to trust institutions and to be able to know that there's true transparency and true accountability. So asking for that is doing work on behalf of the organization, not, God forbid, trying to tear it down. The people that have agendas are the people that have been carrying out this bad behavior, and they're trying to justify the status quo. Think, why does a nonprofit really need a PR firm? How about, hey, we messed up, let's fix this? Why is it, oh, we're sorry this is public, or we're sorry that it's being talked about, we have to reframe the narrative? How about we messed up and now we're going to fix it? Doesn't that seem like it would be a much healthier way to approach these issues? So just the beginning thoughts. We're touching on this a lot more this week and next as the story unfolds. And again, if you'd be so kind to like, subscribe, spread the word, we'll continue to provide a lot of coverage of issues that matter most. Thanks.